There are 15 DIY recipes using this 89-cent bottle of hydrogen peroxide. Recipes that replace the whitening strips, the OxiClean, the Grout cleaner, and the mouthwash most households spend $40 a month on. You probably have a bottle in your medicine cabinet right now, and you're using it to dab on a cut once a year. About 1% of what it actually does. The cleaning aisle just never tells you that. Today, we're counting down 15 hydrogen peroxide uses most people have forgotten about, and number 1 tells you what a $30 product in most medicine cabinets is actually made of. I'm a high school science teacher. I teach the chemistry behind what hydrogen peroxide does to bacteria, stain molecules, and mold. I tested every use I could find and kept the 15 that worked and held up to what I teach. Let's get started. Number 15. Coffee cup stain remover. Most people scrub coffee and tea stains with dish soap and a sponge and get about half the result. Pour a small amount of 3% hydrogen peroxide directly into the stained mug. Let it sit for 30 minutes or overnight for old stains. Rinse and repeat if needed, because coffee and tea stains come from color molecules that bond into the surface. The oxygen in hydrogen peroxide breaks those color bonds apart directly. In other words, the stain is not scrubbed away. It's chemically dismantled. A bottle of Barkeeper's Friend or specialty mug cleaner runs $5 to $8. This costs pennies per use. Number 14. Shower head biofilm flush. Your shower head is easy to ignore until it's visibly gunky. Fill a plastic bag with 3% hydrogen peroxide, submerge the shower head in it, and secure the bag with a rubber band. Let it soak for 30 minutes to an hour, then run the water to flush. Because shower heads build up biofilm, a layer of bacteria and mold that grows inside the tubing and nozzles over time. Hydrogen peroxide breaks that buildup apart at the cellular level. In other words, the soak does not loosen the buildup, it eliminates it. One important note: if you have hard water mineral deposits, discale with white vinegar first to dissolve the lime scale, then follow with the peroxide soak to disinfect. Vinegar handles the minerals. Peroxide handles the biology. Those are two different jobs, and no single product spray does both. Keep them separate. Do not mix hydrogen peroxide and vinegar together, as the combination creates a compound that can irritate your airways. A CLR or similar descaling spray runs $7 to $10. The peroxide step costs almost nothing. Number 13. DIY mouthwash. Most people buy Listerine or a similar alcohol-based mouthwash at $5 to $8 a bottle. Mix half a cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide with half a cup of water in a clean bottle, a 1:1 ratio. Swish for 30 to 60 seconds. Spit. Do not swallow. Use once or twice a week only and always at this dilution. Never use it straight in your mouth, because hydrogen peroxide breaks down the cell walls of oral bacteria. The same reason it bubbles when you put it on a wound. Your cost per use drops to about 4 cents. Listerine costs between $5 and $8 per bottle and is roughly 27% alcohol. This replaces that. Number 12. Carpet stain lift. If a stain hits your carpet, warm water is probably your first move. That's the wrong one, especially for certain stains. Apply 3% hydrogen peroxide directly to the stain or mix it 1:1 with room temperature water for lighter stains. Let it fizz for 5 to 15 minutes, then blot. Never rub, and rinse with cold water. Blood is the one exception. Cold water only, start to finish. Warm water sets blood proteins permanently and makes the stain irreversible. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks apart the color molecules that make a stain visible. In other words, hydrogen peroxide doesn't dilute the color. It breaks the color molecule apart. One note: test on a hidden spot first if your carpet is wool, silk, or viscose. Peroxide can affect those fibers. Resolve carpet spray runs $6 to $9. This costs almost nothing per application. Number 11. Pet stain and odor removal. Most household cleaners, enzyme sprays, carpet shampoos. Break down the surface proteins in a pet stain and the carpet looks clean. Then it rains or the floor gets humid and the smell is back. The reason pet stains smell worse the second time you clean them is that most cleaners break down the protein on top but leave the uric acid crystals underneath. Water reactivates them. Peroxide is the only thing in that cabinet that oxidizes the uric acid itself, which is why the smell actually leaves instead of coming back. Blot up as much of the stain as possible first. Apply 3% hydrogen peroxide directly. Let it sit for 10 minutes, blot again, and rinse with cold water. Nature's Miracle Enzyme Spray runs $10 to $15 per bottle. This is a fraction of that cost. Number 10. DIY Grout Cleaner Paste. Chances are bleach is your first stop for grout mold. That's the wrong move. I stopped keeping bleach under the sink for mold after I understood this. Bleach removes the color of mold. The grout looks clean. The organism is still there. Peroxide destroys the structure of it. Mix 2 tablespoons of 3% hydrogen peroxide with 2 tablespoons of baking soda into a thick paste. Apply directly to grout lines with an old toothbrush. Let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes. Scrub gently and rinse. Repeat for stubborn staining. Don't use on marble, granite, or natural stone grout. Stick to ceramic and porcelain tile. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks down mold and stain molecules at the cellular level without etching the grout surface. Bleach is acidic and eats microscopic pores into grout over time, making it more porous and more prone to trapping mold in the future. In other words, bleach treats the symptom and worsens the underlying problem. Commercial grout cleaner spray runs $6 to $9. This costs about 15 cents per application. Number 9. White laundry brightener. You've likely reached for chlorine bleach to brighten whites. It weakens fabric fibers with repeated use and leaves chemical residue. Add 1 cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide to the bleach compartment of your washing machine in place of bleach. Run a normal cycle. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks apart the yellowing compounds and color molecules trapped in the fabric. In other words, it breaks the color bonds apart at a molecular level, without the structural damage chlorine bleach causes to fabric fibers over time. The byproducts are water and oxygen. A bottle of Clorox bleach runs $4 to $6. A bottle of peroxide that does the same whitening job costs 89 cents. All right, here is where people really start wasting money because the next 8 uses replace stuff you're probably buying every single month. Quick break. If you're finding this useful, I put my favorite tested and safe formulas into one handy guide. The Clean Home Blueprint gives you the exact system to finally ditch every random cleaning product cluttering your sink. 5 products that handles every surface and mess in every room of your house. Links in the description. Now, back to it. Number 8. DIY Stain Remover Spray. Most people keep a bottle of spray and wash or OxiClean spray in the laundry room. Those run $8 to $12 per bottle. Mix 1 part Dawn dish soap with 2 parts, 3% hydrogen peroxide in a spray bottle. Spray directly onto the stain. Blood, sweat, grass, wine. And let it sit for at least 5 minutes. Longer for set stains. Then launder as normal. One important note, use Dawn specifically. Non-Dawn dish soaps that contain sodium carbonate can react with hydrogen peroxide in a sealed bottle and pressurize it. Dawn does not contain sodium carbonate and is chemistry safe for this combination. Don't store the mix for more than 2 to 3 weeks. Hydrogen peroxide degrades in light, so keep it in a dark bottle or cabinet. Test on colored fabric first. Because Dawn lifts the grease and protein holding the stain while hydrogen peroxide breaks down the color molecule underneath. 2 things happening at once. This formula costs about 20 cents per bottle to make. Number 7. Waterpick Reservoir Cleaner. If you own a Waterpick, you're probably just filling it with plain water and never thinking about what's living in the reservoir and tubing between uses. Add a capful, about 1 tablespoon, of 3% hydrogen peroxide to the water reservoir before your normal Waterpick session. Run it through completely. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks down the bacteria buildup inside the reservoir, the tubing, and the tip all at once. That's the same buildup we covered at number 14. In other words, the capful you add before flossing cleans the machine and treats your gum tissue at the same time. 1 step, 2 jobs. Most Waterpick cleaning tablets cost $8 to $12 for a small pack. A capful of peroxide costs a few cents and does the same job while you floss. Number 6. Mold on bathroom caulk. Ever sprayed bleach on black mold on bathroom caulk and wiped it clean? The surface looks clean. The mold isn't gone. Spray 3% hydrogen peroxide directly onto the caulk, let it sit for 10 minutes without rinsing, and let it dry. Repeat if needed for heavy staining. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks the mold apart at the cellular level, instead of just bleaching the color away. In other words, bleach makes mold invisible. Peroxide makes it gone. A dedicated mold and mildew spray runs $6 to $10. This is pennies per application. Number 5. Retainer and mouthguard disinfection. Most people clean their retainer or mouthguard with dish soap or a daily cleaning tablet, which removes visible debris but doesn't disinfect. Mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 1 part water in a cup. Submerge the retainer or mouthguard for 30 minutes. Rinse thoroughly with cool water, not hot, which can warp acrylic. Use weekly or after any illness. Because hydrogen peroxide kills bacteria on the retainer surface, including strep bacteria and yeast that get into tiny channels in the acrylic where soap can't reach. In other words, soap removes what you can see. Peroxide destroys what has moved into the material. Polident retainer cleaning tablets run $6 to $10 per box. This does the same job for pennies. Number 4. Nail surface treatment. Apply 3% hydrogen peroxide to the nail surface with a cotton ball. Let it sit for a few minutes, then rinse. This addresses surface discoloration and mild surface-level fungal growth only. This isn't an antifungal drug. It doesn't penetrate the nail plate. If nails are thickened, spreading, or if you have diabetes or circulation issues, see a doctor. This tip is not for those cases. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks down fungal cell walls on contact. Dedicated nail fungus treatments like fungi nail run $15 to $20. For minor surface discoloration, this costs cents. Number 3. Underarm stain removal on shirts. Ever thrown out a shirt because the underarm area yellowed or grayed? Those stains are a combination of sweat proteins and deodorant aluminum compounds bonded to the fabric. Apply the Dawn and hydrogen peroxide stain spray directly to the underarm area. 1 part Dawn, 2 parts, 3% peroxide. Let it sit 30 minutes for set stains, then launder as normal. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks apart the color molecules that make the stain visible, while Dawn lifts the sweat and deodorant residue holding them in the fabric. In other words, 2 mechanisms are running at once. That's why this gets out stains that hot water and detergent alone never touch. Replacing a stained shirt costs anywhere from $20 to $60. This costs about a dime. Number 2. Humidifier tank disinfection. If you're running a humidifier all winter, cleaning the tank with vinegar is usually the routine. But that handles mineral deposits, not the bacteria and mold growing in standing water. Add 2 tablespoons of 3% hydrogen peroxide to the tank with water before each use, or use it to soak and rinse the tank weekly. Because hydrogen peroxide breaks down the bacteria and mold spores in the tank at the cellular level. And since its only byproducts are water and oxygen, there's no chemical residue left behind. Whatever gets misted into the air you breathe is clean. A dedicated humidifier bacteriostatic treatment like Protect runs $8 to $12. This replaces it for pennies. Number 1 is up next, the one that tells you what a $30 product in most medicine cabinets is actually made of. If you like real practical advice like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because that is what we do here every week. Let's get back to it. Number 1. DIY whitening tray soak. I want to say this once clearly. The active ingredient in most commercial whitening strips is hydrogen peroxide, the same thing in the brown bottle that costs under $2. The delivery mechanism is the strip. The product is the peroxide. Fill a dental tray. A Boil and Bite sports mouthguard from any pharmacy works, with a 1:1 mix of 3% hydrogen peroxide and water. Wear for 15 to 20 minutes. Spit and rinse thoroughly. 2 to 3 times per week only. Don't swallow. Skip if you have cavities, gum inflammation, crowns, veneers, implants, or active sensitivity. The reason this works is the same reason the strip works. Sustained contact time with hydrogen peroxide. The strip costs $30 to $50. The tray costs $2. The bottle of peroxide is 89 cents. The paste method works on the same principle. 1 teaspoon of baking soda with enough peroxide to form a thick paste, brushed gently for 2 minutes 2 to 3 times a week, at about 3 cents per use. That's what this channel is here for. Which one are you going to try first? Drop it in the comments. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next, so check it out and I'll see you in the next episode.